Hello everyone, welcome to Business School 101. Have you ever wondered why the same item, like a cup of coffee, costs differently in different countries? Or why economists often compare the value of currencies across nations? That's where purchasing power parity, or PPP, comes into play. In today's video, we'll break down what PPP means, how it works, and why it's important for understanding global economies. Section 1. What is purchasing power parity? The theory of purchasing power parity, or PPP, states that, in the long run, exchange rates should adjust so that identical goods cost the same across different countries when priced in the same currency. In essence, PPP compares the relative value of currencies by looking at the cost of a standard set of goods in various countries. This set typically includes a wide range of consumer items, such as food, transportation, and services, reflecting everyday purchases. Let's say a cup of coffee costs $5 in the US and 25 yuan in China. According to purchasing power parity, the exchange rate should be $1 equals 5 yen so that $5 in the US buys the same coffee as 25 yen in China. If the actual currency exchange rate deviates from this, PPP suggests that one of the currencies is either undervalued or overvalued relative to the other. Section 2. The Big Mac Index. One of the most well-known applications of PPP is the Big Mac Index, which compares the price of a McDonald's Big Mac in different countries. It was first created by the Economist magazine in 1986. The Big Mac is used because it is a product that is widely available in many countries, and it contains a standardized set of ingredients, such as beef, bread, lettuce, etc. The idea behind the index is that a Big Mac should cost roughly the same amount in every country when converted into US dollars, according to the concept of PPP. For example, in 2023, the price of a Big Mac is $5.15 in the US, 6.50 Swiss francs, CHF, in Switzerland, and 60 Mexican pesos, MXN, in Mexico. Using the exchange rates of $1 equals 95 rappen and $1 equals 18 Mexican pesos and 50 centavos, the Swiss price converts to $6.84, while the Mexican price converts to $3.24. This suggests that the Swiss franc is overvalued, as a Big Mac is more expensive in Switzerland, whereas the Mexican peso is undervalued, as the Big Mac is cheaper in Mexico. Section 3. PPP-adjusted GDP per capita. As we know, when comparing a country's wealth at the individual level, we often use GDP per capita as an indicator. However, this measure does not account for differences in purchasing power. So let's use an example to explain how to calculate the adjusted GDP per capita based on purchasing power parity. In Japan, 7,500 yen will buy a bag of groceries that costs $50 in the United States. The current exchange rate is 110 yen equals $1. The current GDP per capita in Japan is 4,500,000 yen. Question 1. What is Japan's GDP per capita in US dollars based on the current exchange rate? Question 2. What is the adjusted GDP per capita for Japan based on purchasing power parity? To answer the first question, we need to use Japan GDP per capita divided by the current exchange rate, so Japan's GDP per capita based on the current exchange rate is approximately $40,909. The second question asks the adjusted GDP per capita for Japan based on purchasing power parity, so we need to first calculate the PPP exchange rate, which is divide the price of groceries in Japanese yen by the price in US dollars. Then, divide Japan's GDP per capita by the PPP exchange rate to adjust Japan's GDP per capita. So, the adjusted GDP per capita for Japan based on purchasing power parity is $30,000. Because Japan's adjusted GDP per capita is lower than its nominal GDP per capita, which means the cost of goods and services in Japan is relatively high compared to the US. Section 4. How PPP works in economics. From the above example, we can tell PPP is often used to GDP figures to provide a more accurate comparison of economic performance across countries. Economists use PPP-adjusted GDP to compare the size of different economies by factoring in the cost of goods and services in each country. For example, in 2023, China's nominal GDP was around $17 trillion, ranking second in the world. However, when adjusted for purchasing power parity, China's GDP was closer to $30 trillion, surpassing the US's $25.5 trillion, making it the largest economy in the world in terms of PPP. This is because the cost of goods and services in China is generally lower than in the US. Please keep in mind that this adjustment is especially important when comparing developing and developed countries, as it reflects how far a currency can go within its domestic market. Section 5. Why PPP deviates from exchange rates. While PPP suggests that exchange rates should equalize prices between countries, this often doesn't happen due to several key factors. Number 1. Trade barriers, tariffs, quotas, and transportation costs can increase the price of goods across borders, making them more expensive than PPP predicts. For example, European tariffs on US cars can raise their prices, deviating from PPP predictions. Number 2. Market demand and local preferences. Local taxes, regulations, and consumer preferences can drive prices up or down, causing prices to differ significantly between countries. For example, alcohol is heavily taxed in Scandinavian countries, making it more expensive than in other places, despite PPP. Number 3. Inflation differences. Persistent inflation in a country can cause its currency to deviate from PPP predictions. Countries with high inflation, like Venezuela, see rising local prices, but exchange rates may not adjust quickly, leading to discrepancies. Number 4. Non-tradable goods and services. PPP works best for tradable goods but doesn't account for non-tradable services like housing or healthcare, which vary widely between countries. For example, a home in New York may cost much more than in rural areas, which PPP doesn't account for. Number 5. Speculation and market forces. Exchange rates are also influenced by market speculation and central bank actions, further driving exchange rates away from PPP in the short term. For example, uncertainty about Brexit led to sharp fluctuations in the British pound, deviating from PPP. Section 6. Summary. To sum up, Purchasing Power Parity, PPP, compares currencies by assessing the cost of a standard basket of goods in different countries. It provides a clearer comparison of living standards and economic productivity by adjusting for cost of living differences. Understanding PPP is important for accurately comparing GDP and a country's real purchasing power. Alright, that's all for today's topic. If you find this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more insights into economics and business knowledge. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.